Okay, so welcome to the Global Marketing Show, listener.
Thank you.
I'm so excited for our guest today. And I just want to remind you before I introduce him that we're brought to you by Rapport International. And today's tidbit is a peaceful greeting. Selamat is a typical greeting in Indonesia that means peace. So can you imagine saying selamat to everybody you see or wishing them peace? I think that's so nice. So today's guest is Emilio Sacristan. He's from Vacere Medical, and he must be brilliant because he has been visiting professor at Stanford, Yale, and multiple other places. He hails from Mexico.
Mexico City.
So yeah, Emilio, welcome. And tell
Thank
me
you.
a little bit about yourself.
I'm from Mexico, grew up in Mexico, although I'm actually a Spanish citizen also because my father was Spanish. And came to school around here in England and lived
You were at
here in
MIT, right?
a little, sometime at MIT and at WPI.
I knew it.
Yeah, so I lived in this area for a long time. So I feel very much at home
Oh, good.
in New England. You mentioned some of the universities, but I'm a professor of biomedical engineering at the Metropolitan University of Mexico City.
Okay. Yo vi en la ciudad de Mexico cuando era una niña.
I say,
See, yeah. So I just said that I lived in Mexico City when I was young, first and second grade. So loved Mexico City. Have wonderful memories of going to first and second grade there. So tell me about the Syrian Medical.
so this is a project I've been working on for a little over 10 years now. We started with the crazy idea that my then partner, a neurologist, thought that maybe if we could stimulate the facial nerves, we could actually open up the arteries in the brain. And we could do this non-invasively. And it was a crazy idea. When he first told me about it, I said, it's never going to work. It's just not going to work. Um, but we did. We worked on it for several years, doing animal experiments, trying to figure out how to make it work. We've known for a long time that the facial nerve controls many things. It's our cheeks, it's our palate, our smile, but it also has a branch that controls the arteries of the brain. Our central nervous system has a fast control mechanism that will allow us to stand on our head and do a flip without passing out. So the central nervous system can quickly open and close the arteries to the brain. This has been known for a long time that if you actually give it electrical impulses, expose the nerve and give it electrical impulses, you can actually open up the arteries. But that never had a clinical application because you're having a stroke or something. Nobody's going to start cutting open your cheek to expose a nerve to give it little electrical
Yeah,
shocks.
that seems a little
Yeah.
unusual. Yeah.
So the idea here is maybe we could trigger the nerve magnetically with magnetic pulses.
Oh, well.
And it was a harebrained idea at the time, but
Yeah.
we started testing it and it works really well. We found out exactly how to do it and what it took, and we finally developed a human system. And when we first started this project, it was relatively easy to get funding to do animal experiments and to test the idea. But after we've pretty much done everything we could think of, we needed to step it up and go human.
Yeah.
And we needed to build a human system, which required some very expensive engineering to develop the system. And we needed to get approval to actually start testing humans. And then we hit a brick wall. I mean, everybody's like, well, are you sure this is going to be safe and effective in humans? And we're like, well, no, that's why we need to build it and test it. Everybody
Right,
was like,
that's pretty
oh,
standard of
but we finally convinced the authorities. We did our first human trials, healthy humans. We did clinical trials, and it worked. It was incredible. It worked so well.
Mhm.
And so then the FDA gave us humanitarian device designation, and the NIH gave us a big grant to do a multi-center trial in the US.
Uh-huh.
And so we're up and running again, and we're getting that done. And we want to get this to market and save some lives.
Excellent. Okay, so now we understand a little bit about what it is. Let's switch it over to the business side and the global marketing. So where are you? And are you based in Mexico or US?
Yeah, I live in Mexico City.
Okay.
I did move to Cleveland, Ohio for a while because that's where we're running the trials.
Cleveland
But
Clinic.
I'm back in Mexico City. After COVID, everybody went to Zoom for everything. And then I realized that why am I traveling so much? I could just live at home and take Zoom meetings from Mexico. I still travel a lot, but
Well, you're here at the Resi conference in
yeah, and I was
Boston.
just in
So yeah.
Cleveland, and but not as much. And I don't have to live in Cleveland.
Right.
I can supervise things. And we do have an international group. Our team has an international group. We have European investors, and um, one of our board members French, and so it's widespread team.
So how did you get the European investor? How did you connect with them?
Networking.
Networking
Yep. Chance.
online, Resi
Oh yeah,
conference, or
conferences and things like that. Yeah, I went to a conference like this, pitched the project. Um, this guy was on the panel. He really liked it, and opened up and made introductions.
okay. So going to international conferences is
Yeah,
why I opened it up. Okay. And where are they? You said European investors, or
Netherlands.
they're in the Netherlands. Okay. And now what's your plan for go to market?
Well, we want to do three. It's the same technology, but we want to use it for three clinical applications. First application is most interesting is stroke. We want to treat patients in the emergency room or even in the ambulance on the way to the emergency room as a first emergency treatment to be used within the first 12 hours. So as soon as a physician can, you know, make the decision that they can be treated. And hopefully this could be a treatment that can be offered even in non-stroke centers. Right now, you can only get treated for stroke in a stroke center. So a lot of patients go to the wrong hospital and they have to get transferred.
Transferred and then lose that critical
Yes.
time.
So, and yeah, time is brain. So the longer you take to get some treatment, the more of your brain's going to die.
So this would be
Therapeutic.
a therapeutic that you could teach first
Yes.
responders to use.
Right. This would
Okay.
be like a defibrillator, but for the brain.
Okay. And so I understand that in the US system. How are you thinking about global launch, or which
Yes.
countries are you going
Yes.
into
Well, the
first?
biggest markets are the US, Europe, and China. Most of the world, I mean, stroke affects everywhere, but most of the world does not have stroke centers. I have very, very few stroke centers. So basically, people that get a stroke either die or get disabled or recover. Some of them recover fully, but they don't really get treated within that first time window. So the only treatment they receive is really rehabilitation after the fact,
Uh,
if they survive. In most places, it takes a very expensive, it's incredibly expensive to have stroke centers that will receive patients and quickly treat them within that first time window. Some hospitals have even recurred to having these really expensive ambulances that actually have a CT scanner inside the ambulance so they can be diagnosed on the way to the hospital.
wow.
And a lot of patients go to the wrong hospital and they have to get referred. And by the time they get to the right hospital, it's too late. So that's the big problem. And it's incredibly expensive. Stroke is very expensive in the impact it causes, the associated cost of rehabilitation. And it's the second leading cause of death worldwide. So it's a big problem, big unresolved problem.
If I think back to cell phones, there were some parts of the world that skipped landlines because they didn't have the technology to put them in and they went straight to cell phones. I mean, treating stroke, this is kind of making me
Yeah,
think of
this might
that.
open this up for people that don't have, to be able to offer some therapy.
Right.
Um, and it doesn't compete against other therapies. This will be in conjunction. You can still get a thrombolytic, which is a clot busting drug or something else, but this can be applied earlier because it's safe and it's easier. And you don't need to have a differential diagnosis. So we hope eventually to prove that you could treat patients before you even determine whether they have a ischemic stroke or hemorrhagic stroke.
Right, because there's no
Right.
damage that's caused. Okay, so
And
you
so that would be the first application. The second application is a stroke-like condition that is the nightmare of the neurosurgeon. It's called vasospasm. So a patient that has like a burst aneurysm gets rushed into the operating room. They get brain surgery. They put a clip on it. They're recovering in the ICU. They're doing well. They're even maybe starting to walk. Met with a family. And then suddenly, 4 to 7 days later, they get something that's called vasospasm, which is the arteries in the brain get irritated and then it just clamp down and close off. And it's like a stroke. And it's deadly. More than 50% of patients die or have a permanent disability. And there's no standard treatment that's really effective. We tried it in our group. 100% of our patients fully recovered, resolved their vasospasm, or didn't need any further treatment. When the FDA saw that data, they said, "Oh, we're going to give you the humanitarian device designation." So that would be the second application. That's a smaller market, but it's a big need. And the third, we have a strategic partner that is funding trials to use this as a prophylactic treatment for migraine.
for
Migraine.
migraine. Ooh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Migraine is also related to vascular changes.
yes,
You have a long period of this vasoconstriction that constricts the arteries. And then suddenly you get like a bounce and it vasodilates. And that's when you get the pain.
yes.
And so we want to try it and see if we can vasodilate and
So it's almost
do
a
it
direct to
periodically.
consumer product then?
No, it would be sold to the neurologist, and the neurologist would be able to treat their patients in his office.
Wow. Okay. I mean, this is fantastic stuff. It could change the world with how people treat stroke. So, you know, your hot markets are the US, Europe, and China.
Yeah,
How,
of course
how are
we're
you
going to
going to
do
start?
this worldwide.
Right.
Uh, well, right now our clinical trials are in the U.S. We want to do a separate arm for stroke in Europe starting next year. Next year, we're starting our migraine study in Latin America.
Okay. How are you handling all the, I mean, it's a global marketing show, so we have to talk about
Right.
language and culture and how you're handling that.
Yeah.
How are you handling the different languages or across countries?
Well, we're a very multilingual team. The only part where we really struggle is China. China's, it's difficult because none of us speak
You're
Chinese.
Chinese, yeah.
That's very difficult. But yeah, Europe is not a big deal. We're all very bilingual, trilingual. I speak 4 languages:
English, Spanish,
French,
French,
German.
and German. Oh, okay. I wouldn't have guessed that. All right. And so you can have all the business dealings and negotiations. You can speak
Yes.
the languages. And then what about when you're doing contracts or you're doing your marketing materials or authorization?
Well, Europe is not hard to find people that speak English. Europe is very easy. That's you hire lawyers or advisors that will speak both languages and will help you do all that. That's not that hard.
Okay.
You can, of course, do that in China too, but the problem is you can't double check it. It's harder. And I've had the issue of having documents translated into Chinese and then translated back. And what you get back is it's kind of nonsense. It's very hard.
It's very hard because it's like whisper down the alley. Yeah, we've had people ask us at Rapport International for back translations, and we say you're better off getting another person that's fully bilingual, a professional translator, to review it and make any edits to things that
Right.
don't make sense. And then you can see the number of edits and what kind of edits are on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the back translation can leave a lot open there.
Of course, in China, a lot of people speak English too in a professional setting. But even then, you wonder what it is you're missing.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's the experience I have with that. Here, I've lived and worked in the U.S. for a big chunk of my life,
Yeah.
so I have no problem dealing with the U.S.
So you got the US and Mexico
and
down
Mexico
pat.
down pat. Yeah.
Yeah. And then have you ever worked with a professional translation company or have you been able to lean on your internal folks and attorneys
Yeah, I have at times
at times?
when I don't have time to translate stuff, but I usually review whatever's being done
Oh,
as
yeah.
much as I can.
Yeah.
Um, I don't have one that I work with particularly.
Yeah. No, I wondered what your experience was. And I'm surprised with what you're managing, you're still doing the translations.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, yeah, if I have time. Yeah. And I would never, my German's not good, but I feel very comfortable doing English and French. No problem.
No, it takes a lot of time. We've had people talking about, what they could have been doing with that time by using a professional translator. But you're driving a good point home is that how do I trust that they're doing a good job?
Right.
Yeah. And you knowing the languages really helps.
Yeah.
If you find the right professional translation agency, they can help you work through a lot of that. That's what you can depend on. But I also want to talk about culture.
Yes.
Like you are definitely multicultural.
Yes.
And so, what's some advice for people who are thinking maybe I could do fundraising or maybe when I want to launch in other countries? Like, how do you work cross cultures so that you feel like you're being productive? Or what are some of the challenges you've had and how have you worked through them?
Well, I grew up in a very multicultural. My mother's actually Hungarian.
Oh my gosh.
My father's French. My wife is American, but she was born in Canada. From Finnish and English, and I have such a multicultural, and I've always traveled a lot. I've lived in different cultures, so I think I have a big sense of different cultures. And
So you do it kind of seamlessly. You've been exposed to so many cultures, you know how to land.
yeah.
Yeah. What are some topics that you would say you don't talk about if you're going into a new culture? Is there anything off limits that you
Oh
would
yeah,
say?
I avoid politics.
Okay.
I don't try to talk politics.
The politics is off the table
Yeah,
everywhere.
and sometimes they want to talk politics, and I'm like, yeah, all right, but I'll try not to talk about it or be on the fence a little bit.
Yeah. I'm not going to ask you about American
Yeah,
politics at all.
yeah,
Are there any other topics that are off limits?
yeah. Well, there's some historical things, like if your country went to war with the other country and stuff like that, you want to kind of not really get into that too much
Okay.
because you probably have two very different uh, takes
Yeah.
on history.
Okay.
So yeah, I try to avoid that too. Keep it always forward looking.
Forward looking.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what topics would you tend to bring up if you're socializing?
Curing disease, where the future could go. Uh,
Oh,
you know, innovation in general. It's a topic that everybody likes. Everybody has their own definition, but everybody wants to talk about innovation. So that makes it easier.
those are great ideas and ones I hadn't heard before, but everybody can engage in there. How do you define innovation?
Right.
What's innovation? What are you excited about?
Right.
Great idea. Yeah. Okay. So, I have to ask this question because I ask
Yes.
everybody what's your favorite foreign word?
What's my favorite foreign word?
Yes.
Oh, and it works in every
Every
language.
language. That's why I like
Oh,
open
I'll
asking.
say it in French, merde.
Now, all right. Now you have to define it and say why it's your
But in
favorite word.
English or in German, it's just to satisfy. Or in Spanish. I mean, they're all just,
All of them. All of them.
yeah,
Give me. Tell me how to say it in all the languages.
yeah. So anyway,
Mierda.
yeah, mierda, shit. Yeah, I
What's
use
it
that
in
one a lot.
German?
Scheiße.
Scheiße, of course. Yeah.
So yeah, it's that would be my favorite one.
Oh yeah. Why is that your favorite
I
word?
don't know. It's satisfied.
It is satisfying in so many ways. All right. What are you hoping to get out of the Resi conference today?
Oh, we're here to raise money for our next launch and next step, next
Okay.
phase. So we're trying to wrap up our fundraising drive.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. We will share the episode so you can use it to help you with the fundraising. And I'd also like to present you with a copy of The Language of Global Marketing. It's a book
Thank
I
you.
wrote.
Thank you very much.
Yes, and I wish you the best of luck. And if there's anything that we can ever do to help you with your international expansion, please let me know.
Thank you. Thank you very much. This has been a pleasure.
Okay. And thank you, listeners, to the Global Marketing Show. I hope you enjoyed this episode with Emilio, who is certainly a cross cultural person with all the places he's lived and the exposures he's had. And I love his idea about speaking about innovation. So I hope you use that in any of your international discussions. Rate us with the 5, share the episode, come back and check out another episode. Thanks so much for tuning in.